Welcome to a Unity tutorial. I'm Lunautical, and this is a 2D platformer character controller script that I made, and I'll be showing how to set it up and use it for your own games. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be showing how the script works by actually going through it, as well as other information, uh, important stuff regarding my game simulation, which I also have a trailer out. But that being said, let's get right on with the tutorial. This character controller script has a bunch that you could do with it. So obviously there's moving, you could jump and then double jump as well. There's also a dash that you could do. And if I come over to this wall, you could slide on it and you can also jump off of the wall. And all these values are changeable and really easy to set up. So let's go ahead and create a whole new scene here, which I already have set up here. So once you load up your scene, your new Unity project or whatever, let me go ahead and increase the size here to like 10 or something. You're going to want to make sure you have some sprites ready for your player and your ground. I'm just using a tannish cube for my player and just a white cube for my ground. And I also create all my sprites at 100 by 100 pixels. So first thing you're going to want to do is just drag in whatever is going to be your ground, expand it, whatever. Get one for like a wall up. That'll be good, and I'll do one more for my ground. Alright. And that'll do. So, what you're going to want to do is with all your ground, you're going to go ahead and select everything that you want your ground to be, and you're going to add a physics 2D box collider component, as well as you're going to set the layer to something you want to be ground. Now, how you're going to do that is you're going to go to add layer, and inside one of these user layers, you're going to name one of them as something you would want to be ground. Now, I already have one called ground, so I'm just going to set all these to the ground layer. And that's the environment all done and ready to go. Next, you're going to want to go ahead and get your player, whatever your player sprite is. And the two components that you need to add onto here is in the physics 2D box collider and the physics 2D rigid body 2D. If I could find it, rigid body 2D. Now, the settings I prefer to have set up on here is to have everything default really. Just remove angular drag to 0 and set collision detection to continuous. And also freeze your rotation so you don't rotate and get off axis and not be correctly oriented. After you do that, your player is basically all ready to go to get set up. So you're going to go and drag that script onto your player. And you're going to see there's a lot here. A lot of these we don't even really have to worry about. First thing you see is RB2D, rigid body 2D, and ground collider, box collider 2D. You don't have to set these in. The script will find these components on your player when it starts. But if you still want to go ahead and put it on, you could just drag rigid body 2D into the RB2D and then box collider 2D into the box collider 2D. Next is the ground layer mask. Whatever layer you set for your environment to be the ground and wall, you're just going to select ground. And that's that. Now everything else here, I would recommend going to play mode and setting. And before you end play mode, take a picture so that you don't lose all your values that you prefer. And then you can set them into the scene view. So when you're inside of game view, if you don't see lasers on your character, go to the top right of your game view tab and click on gizmos, and they should pop up. If they don't, click on this arrow and just start enabling a bunch of these until you actually find these little green and blue lasers, whatever you want to call them. So after you've done all this, it's time to start configuring. So I could already see that we move a bit slow here. So speed is basically how fast you want to speed up to get to your max speed. I'm just going to do like 1000, let's do like 1250. And yeah, that seems good. Next, max speed is obviously your max speed. So if I go ahead and set this up to a higher value, I could start moving faster. I'm going to set this back down to 5 though. I kind of like that. I think that's a nice number. Jump strength is obviously as it is. It's jumping. So if you set this to like a higher value, you could jump higher. And this also goes on for your double jump as well. Counter movement is to keep your character from sliding after you stop moving. So if I go and set this to 0, and I just go in and like move, and I just stop, I slide for quite a bit still. So by having this counter movement here at like a really low value, you kind of come to like a smooth stop, which is really nice. And you won't have to like change your drag or change the physics material of the ground or whatever to be higher friction, which is really nice to have. X input you don't even touch. If you're pressing A key, it'll be -1. If you're pressing D key, it'll be 1. This is how I do the movement and also keep you from exceeding your max speed, is just by canceling that out. Velocity, well, vel, you don't have to touch. That's just being used throughout the script, and I was using this for debugging and making sure stuff is working properly. Now, dash distance, do not try dashing when this value is up high. I would go and set it down something low, like 6, just to test. And how do you dash is by pressing one of the direction keys, A or D, and then pressing shift at the same time. So if I go in and, well, it's kind of hard to tell because I was moving still. So let me go and set this to 12. And if I go in and press D and shift, I dash. Let me do in the air. And you also don't fall in the air as long as the dash is going on. And so you could do this to change the distance of the dash. I do not have it publicly here to change the duration. When I go over the script, you could change that inside the script yourself. Next, you see max number of dashes, current number of dashes, max number of jumps, and current number of jumps. If you wish to have more dashes or jumps in the air before you touch the ground, they replenish. Just increase the max number. So if I go in and set this to 3, then I could dash 3 times in the air before I need to touch the ground. 1, 2, 3, and then it replenishes. I like to keep these down to 1 though. Next, wall distance is this little blue line. So usually you would be able to slide on the wall, but because this line is too small, I have to increase this number so that it could see that there's a wall there. So if I go in and do like a 0.6, let's do a 0.7. Now that's coming out of the player, and I could. All right, so a little bit of an error. When you do the wall slide speed, make sure you give it a negative value so you're not sliding up the wall. You would want to be sliding down. So if I go in and jump to the wall, I slide down slower. Let me go in and change this to like a -2 or something. And here I am, falling down slowly. Let me increase my jump so I could show this much longer. Let's go 14. And here I could slide. And if you press a jump, you could jump off the wall. Now it doesn't seem like much, but there's values down here that you go in and change. So jump distance is how far from the wall you want to jump. I could do like 16. So when I'm on the wall and I press jump, I kind of just jolt away. If I do like 28, obviously, you go much farther. Now, wall jump height is how high you want to jump after jumping off the wall. So if I could do 8, you see I go up after jumping off the wall, which if I go in to set this to 0, I don't jump up at all. In fact, gravity is pulling me down. So I would set this to some value so you're kind of going up a bit, but not too much. Or however you want the game to feel. And that is basically everything within the script to set it up. Your player is all ready to go. And you don't have to create animations and sprites backwards. So if you're pressing D, scale is just 1. If you press A, your scale is -1, so your character would just automatically be flipped, which is nice. And that's the entire setting up process. Next, I'm going to go through the entire script itself and basically explain what everything means. Now, the script itself, it may seem like there's a lot, but to be honest, it's actually not really that much. Up here, you have all your values and variables and whatnot. Inside the wake function, all this does is set the rigid body 2D and box collider 2D. That's why I said you don't have to manually set it up. inside the scene component menu, because the script will set it automatically. Inside the update, we have some functions here that goes on. Player input, checks for your player input. Ground check, checks if you're on the ground. Facing orientation, sets your scale to 1 or -1, depending if you're facing left or right. And then wall slide is obviously sliding on the wall. And right here is basically making sure if the blue laser is touching the wall, then you're sliding on the wall, and it's going to do some stuff. So inside fixed update, I have a private variable here called vel for velocity, and a function called movement happens, which we'll be going over. Player input, if you press D, then you're going to be facing right, and your X input is equal to 1. If you press A, your U facing right is equal to false, and X input is equal to -1, else it's equal to 0, and it's not changing whether you're facing left or right. It's based on the last input. So if you press W, it's going to check to see if you're not dashing and you are sliding on the wall and you're not grounded, it's going to do a wall jump. Else, if you're not dashing, you could jump. If you are dashing, nothing happens at all. It's to keep it so that if you jump while dashing, you could actually basically get a huge height boost, which is not what you want. You want to just not move on the y-axis and just jump. Dash. Here is just for the dashing. So if you press left shift and you're not already dashing and you still have a dash available, so if it's greater than 0, and then it's checking if your X input is less than 0, meaning you're moving left, then you're going to dash left. Otherwise, you're going to dash right. For the movement, this is basically to cancel your input if you're going over max speed. So if you are pressing a key and your velocity is greater than max speed, then it's going to cancel out your input so that you can't keep on adding force to keep on moving and going over your max speed. And same thing happens when going backwards to the left. If you're not dashing, then you can move, which is where the X input comes in. So if your X input is equal to 0, you're not going to move at all. Anything times 0 is 0. The reason why I have time to delta time here is just to keep it more consistent. It's already being done inside a fixed update. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to have time to delta time inside of a fixed update, but I just have it here anyways. Correct me if I'm wrong in the description. Here's the counter movement. This is how you get that smooth like stop, so that you're not just sliding everywhere. So if you are moving into the wall, then it's going to set your max Y velocity so that you don't go over and fall faster than you should be from sliding on the wall. Here you have the jump function. So if you are grounded, then it's going to get that private variable vel. It's going to set the Y of it equal to your jump strength, which is just a number that you set. And then it's going to set velocity to your character. Else, if you're not grounded, this is for the double jump, and you still have a jump available. So if it's greater than 0 jumps remaining, then it's going to deduct one of those jumps. It's going to change the Y to the jump strength, and then going to apply that. If you want your second jump to be like weaker than the other one, you can either create a second variable and have that be a custom jump strength, or you could do like divide by 2 or something, and you'll jump half as high as if you were on the ground. But I'm not doing that. Here's the wall jump. So if you are facing right, set the value to 1, facing direction equal to 1, else facing direction is equal to -1. This is for which direction you should be jumping off the wall. And I do it negative. So if you are facing left, then you should be jumping right. That's why I'm doing negative and doing the opposite of the value. And then wall jump height is obviously as it is. Facing orientation. This is what makes your scale either 1 or -1. So if you are facing right and you're not dashing, then it's going to change your scale to 1, so you face right. Otherwise, it's going to set your scale to -1 and you would face left. The reason why I have it happen only when you're not dashing is so that if you dash right and then you try moving left while dashing, you won't be looking left while dashing right. It just makes it look more appealing and just better overall. Wall slide, it's basically just sending the laser. If you're facing right, it's going to send the laser to the right. Else, it's going to send the laser to the left. Not that complicated. In the ground check, it's just sending a laser down. If it hits the ground layer, then it's going to set all this stuff. It's going to set is grounded to true. Your current number of dashes to your max number of dashes. Your current number of jumps to your max number of jumps. So it just replenishes that. And then for the debugging stuff, so you could see the laser, it's going to make it green. Otherwise, if you're not on the ground, its ground is going to be false, and it's also going to set this to red. And this is for the dash. This happened in its own block of code, so nothing could go ahead and alter it or whatnot. So dashing is going to be set to true. It's going to deduct one of your dashes. It's going to actually do the dash. It's also going to take your gravity and set it to 0 so you don't fall down or rise up. And then it's going to do this for 0.4 seconds. And then it's going to set is dashing to false. And then set your gravity back to normal. If you want to dash longer, just change this number. This is in seconds, so this is 0.4. And you could dash longer. And that is the entire player controller script. And just before the video ends, I want to talk about my game simulation. Currently, I haven't been working on it because my laptop isn't that powerful, so testing and working on it is just very difficult for me in general. However, in early May, I am going to be getting an actual powerful computer. So that being said, I could actually work on it and do much higher quality graphics, much more quality scripts, and have just so much more available in there, and hopefully make this be one of my best games that I've made so far. This is basically all the news I had for it. If you still yet to see the trailer, I'm going to have the link to it in the description. That being said, thank you for using my tutorial. Any suggestions or feedback and anything you want me to do, put it in the comments. And that being said, be prepared for the next one.